Hi, everyone. This is Stephen Watt, and I am part of Northern Lights Canada. Today, we're doing a recording on how to fill out the additional family information form, which is part of many refugee applications, especially for the Afghan Canadian Interpreters Project, which is happening right now. It's also part of anybody's private sponsorship application process, but it's usually required later in a later stage of the process. For the Afghan Canadian helpers, it's required upfront. So let's figure out how to do it. First of all, you should know that you'll probably receive an email with this document, and it'll be a link. Now, the problem is when you click on the link, you get an error message, much like this. So don't panic. The problem with these PDFs is that they can't be viewed through an online portal, and they cannot be viewed at all on a telephone. So you have to use a computer to fill out these forms, and you have to actually save a local copy. So let me just find this form and see how. So if I didn't receive the form by email, I might just search Canadian Family Information Refugee. There it is, additional family information. I'm going to save a local copy to my computer. Now, personally, I like to give proper names to all these PDFs because you'll end up filling in many of them. And it gets confusing because they all have very similar names, like IMM something, something, something. So I'm going to use my own name, which is Stephen Watt. I don't think I'm giving away too much information here. Additional family info. And I use my name because you're going to have different documents for your wife or spouse or even children or dependents. So it's good to use that name on the document itself so you can keep track. So there's my local copy. This is what I mean. You have to open the local copy, and hopefully you have some kind of Adobe product on your computer. If you don't, you can download them. There's Adobe Reader, Adobe this, Adobe that. You have to have one of them, and some of them are free. You have to have one of them on your computer. It's not going to work. So here we are. This is the additional family information form, which you are being asked to fill out as part of your application. I'm not going to fill out a whole one because I'm already in Canada, and also because I want to keep this a little bit short, but I want to point out some tips based on things I've seen people do wrong. So one tip is when it comes to the name, do not put your last name and then your first name. On this particular document, it's first, middle, and then last name or family name. And you have to make sure it matches your ID. Whatever is on your passport is your official name, even though it could be spelled in many different ways. So let's just, in my case, let's say Stephen James Watt. That's first, middle, and family name. Marital status. So let's pretend I am married. Married, physically present. That means your spouse is with you, not in another place, another city, another country. Country or territory. Oh, sorry, date of birth. I'm going to make myself much younger than I am. 1972, 04/16. Notice that is year, month, date. Every country does that differently. That's how this form wants you to do it. Country or territory of birth. So let's pretend I'm from Afghanistan. This is interesting here. This is something people often get wrong. Present address. Just city, town, country, territory, and date. Oh, okay. So that's interesting. I always tell people to put the street address, but you don't have to put your street address here. So you do have to put your city or town. So let us pretend I am in Ghazni. I forget where Ghazni is, but say it's in Jagori province. I think I got that backwards, but let's pretend. Anyway, you know better, Afghani people, if I've gotten that right. It should be city, then city, town. Oh, just city or territory and date. So that's easy. City.
And Stephen, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
I think you put only city and town if the person is deceased. if you're alive, you need to put the whole present address.
Thank you.
I believe.
I think you're right. So my advice was actually correct. Thank you very much, my helper friend who's recording this. So I'm going to, that is a very good point. So I'm going to put a full address. So 16, what's a good street name? Temple Street, Ghazni, Afghanistan, and email address. So let's say it is what@gmail. It's not everybody, by the way, so don't email me here. Okay. So to your point, oh, do you have another one?
Yes, I have one more thing, is if your name is written in a different language, you do need to put it below your English writing in your native language symbols.
That is very correct. So let us pretend that we are going to write my name in, oh, they're already good to go. So Stephen Watt in Pashto. So it could be Pashto, it could be Dari, it could be any old language. But I'm sure you personally know, viewer, how to spell your own name in your own language, but I don't know how to spell it in Pashto. So there we go.
Perfect.
So you're right. And as you were saying, every single name on this document needs the local language equivalent, right? There's a lot of them, a lot of names. So a couple other tricks. So your spouse, same thing, has to be written the way her name or his name would be written on a passport. Passport is your #1 document. Tazkira being your kind of #2, but I think Tazkira is not written in English. So go with your passport. Say someone is deceased. This is to your point, the person on the other end of the line. Say my father's name is John Doe, and pretend that that's his Pashto name, and he is deceased. There it is, deceased. Deceased, this is the important point. Email address doesn't have one. Whenever somebody doesn't have an email address, you put that. It means not available or not applicable. Don't leave them blank. So you probably have many family members with no email address. Always do that. Same as if actually you didn't know where your family member was, you would put N-A or N/A. But the key information here is, say the father is deceased. You would still have a country of birth. He would still have a birth date. Oops, I just did something strange. Close that. 1944-0403 or something. But he, instead of his current address, you would put the place where he died. So say he died in Toronto, Canada, and say he died in 2002, 0306. So that means year, then month, then date. That is how you deal with somebody who has been deceased. So underneath, you have space, and sorry, I didn't fill out spouse or mother. You should, but I'm not going to waste your time by typing in a bunch of false information. Here's where you put your children. Obviously, marital status is single. Presumably, they might be married. Actually, who knows? Depending on how old they are. Fill that in. Make sure it's got their name as written on their ID or documents, and then their sort of translated name underneath. All the same stuff. You might have more children than fit here. So there's only room for 1, 2, 3, 4 children. In which case, you have to fill out an addendum. An addendum, we usually use a Word document, like a document in the software called Word, which basically imitates the look of this form. I think I might have a copy of it here somewhere. There it is. So this is an addendum. This one has space for children. You might also have, so, you know, I can write many, many children's names. I could even add rows and add more children, depending on how many children you have. You could also do a version of this that has as sisters and brothers. If you have more sisters and brothers than fit on this form, there's only room for 3. I would try and note that they also say half and stepbrothers and sisters. So if your parents had children with somebody else, you're supposed to include those, or if your mom remarried and had, and then brought children into the family, you're supposed to list all of them. So this takes a lot of time for some big families, but really make sure you do it properly. And if you really spend the time on doing it properly, this additional family information form, the rest of the process becomes a lot easier, because a lot of the same information will appear on the other forms that you're being asked to provide. For example, the one called generic has a lot of this same personal information and information about your spouse and children. The document called Schedule A has your parents' information again. And the reason why there's repetition is because the visa officer, the Canadian immigration officer who is reading your documents, they don't really know where your sister or brother is living, or when your parents were born, or when they died. So they use comparison to figure out if you're telling the truth or not. So, or if you're telling a strong story or not. So, you should do the same. So if you have your mother's name as something, 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 and her date of birth is something, something, and her, all this detail here, that same information should appear identically in the Schedule A, for example, where mother and father appear. And if you have your address as this on additional family information, you should have the exact same address, same name, same date of birth, same on your own documents, like generic and Schedule A. So these are just kind of tips for filling this out properly. I would say if you can, have somebody proofread this form for you, because you might have made mistakes that you didn't notice. So if you do have somebody, a friend or something, who has done these forms before, knows how they work, or if you have a Canadian helper or military helper, somebody to help you, ask for help. And then when they say, yes, this is really good, your addendum is really good, this is the addendum, everything's great, then it's time to date and sign. So say it's 2021 09 23 34, that's not really a date. Okay, you're ready to go. Now you have to print this up, because one of the funny things about these PDFs is they do not take electronic signatures. There is a very, very long, crazy way of getting a signature on it through Photoshop and all sorts of things. But the normal thing of just adding an e-signature does not work on these. And immigration wants you to print it up, sign it with a pen, scan the whole page, and then resave it, and then you're done, right? And then you might even, if you have an addendum, you might have to attach this to the PDF, which is, takes a little bit of file merging and so on. But the point is, physically sign it, scan it, and that is your final document, the one that you send to immigration. So the video's gone on long enough. I'll cut it short there. We'll hopefully do other videos on filling out the generic and filling out the Schedule A and filling out the supporting documents, which are all required for this process. And thank you very much. And hopefully we'll post some links to help guide you more as part of this process. Good luck, everybody.